What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris, and today I'm going to show you folks 3 storage designs you can use for the upcoming 0.2 update that will add crafting from storage this week. Call me overprepared, but I think it'll be good to get this crossed off the list early here, as we could theoretically figure out a ton of cool things using the new crafting capabilities. Of course, you could always just slap a chest into a room near some refiners or crafting benches and call it a day, an easy solution for sure. But I'm going to show you all today how the system opens up a ton of possibilities. With queued crafting and crafting from storage, we'll be able to use this system to mass produce items and also easily craft complicated tools and weapons in a much more streamlined way. We're working off the knowledge that crafting from storage has a 12-meter range, so keeping everything close together will help to ensure that we're within that range limit. Be sure to check the description down below for timestamps if any of these designs catch your interest. But now, let's get into 3 storage designs for crafting from storage. First up, we'll look at a simple solution that looks a lot nicer than a chest just thrown nearby a workbench. Today, we'll go over the stacked steamer trunks again, as I see a lot of people do this in an inefficient way, stacking single chests as opposed to double. So I'll show you all how to set this up very easily today. We'll start off by placing down 2 steamer trunks, placing them as far apart as possible without having a gap between them. We'll then place down a utilitarian shelf on top, having the leg posts on the edge of the bottom trunks. Then we'll fill them in so we can add our next few layers. Using the spaced apart trunks, we'll have to come into the middle of the utilitarian shelf a bit so we can place these next few trunks. And if you're having a hard time placing them, try making small movements with your mouse to find the spot where the trunk will sit right. We'll then repeat the process for the next shelf, but this time we don't have to place in the trunks beneath the next shelves, and I find it a bit easier of a process doing things in blueprints first, then building after if possible. Then we'll turn the trunk to the side for the last 2 shelves. The knack to this design is getting your leverage right and making sure your bottom trunks are as far apart as possible before building up, so you have the easiest time placing these. And if you get things perfectly set up, you can stack these double tall up to the second last shelf, maximizing your storage space. A setup like this shouldn't take more than a few minutes if you have the resources on hand. Now for the fun part of the video, the potential of hybrid crafting and refining setups. This will be the real detailed part of the video, as the other designs utilize my previous ideas pretty much in themselves, but this one just works so well, again theoretically, that it's something I think all late game players should be getting set up early here. This design lets you craft all the tools in the game and have maximum boosts to the refining stations you'll need the most when making tools. I really think this one's a sick design, so let's get into it. First off, you'll want to make a small room out of whatever tile set you'd like, but you'll want to have at least 3 small rooms to separate your augments and stations. We'll leave these as blueprints so we can place in our chests. I started off with this idea of having it all in one room, but that idea quickly fell apart here, so I instead reworked it into a small 3-room setup. The trick to this is using the footed chest's unique ability to stack on top of itself. So we'll take the chests and raise them as high as possible so we can access each one as we need to. In order to have this chest be accessible on both sides of the wall, we'll place them right in the center, then come along to the edge of the next chest to place down our next row. After that, we just need to stack them up as high as you'd like for a ridiculous amount of storage right beside all your crafting and processing stations. The best way to access these chests and place in the resources is by aiming at the feet of the chest. It just makes things a bit easier to aim for. We'll then do the same on the wall to the left, placing in our chests so they can be accessed in both rooms. Then we just have to place in our crafting setups, which I'll have listed in a pinned comment down below if you want to build your own hybrid setup here. For our main room, this is where we'll be making our guns and weapons, as well as miscellaneous tools like lanterns and gliders. Then for our second room, we'll be making pretty much everything else that's a tool. and both sides will have maximum buffs available without realm cards. If you mix in a few realm cards though, this crafting setup will become very powerful very quickly, so I'll have that listed out in the description too if anyone's curious for the various effects you can apply with minor realm cards. Lastly, make sure to give your campfire at the front enough clearance to reach both crafting tables for the warm buff, which is why you probably want to build this with arches instead of doors so that way you can again reach them both with one campfire. Then for our last room, we'll have the best buffs we could get for the 2 refining stations, improving our blades and reducing our crafting time to the maximum amount for the hearth and saw table. This design is tileable as well, you just need to keep putting chests in between the walls of each room. You might want to improve this further by adding a tanning bench, as processed hides often come up in late game crafting recipes. If you'd like to check out the ultimate crafting and refining setup, I'll have those videos linked at the end of this one. And for our last design of the day, incorporating floor storage for the means of mass production. You'd use this room to mass produce ingots and parts and have the storage for all of them and then some. This uses the cheaper alternative of weathered chests to make a nice floor design to complement your refining room. So now we're going to do a super fast how-to on floor storage. We cover an alternative method to this in my video on storage systems, but this is a quick and dirty way to get a nice looking floor storage here in the game. We'll start off with a plus shape of foundations, with our planned foundations on the outside and then a foundation in the middle to place our chests on. We'll raise the outer foundations up by 1 to see where their edge is, and then place our chest within that boundary of blueprint foundations. We'll then take our chests along and adjust them so that they're mostly centered here. We'll make our next row vertically to the last row. In this row, we'll go 5 long, starting from the edges, then filling in the middle. It's good to readjust things as you go along, and then we'll do a final pass of readjustment later. Then we'll fill the next 2 rows with horizontal chests to wrap up the floor tile. To place in our proper floor, we'll remove the ghost foundations and place in a new tile at the corner of the foundation the chests are on. We're looking for the point where the foundation pops up by a bit, where we'll fine-tune our height to the chest's height. And then we'll move closer to the chests, where we'll pop up one more time, move back till it no longer pops up, and this will be where you place your new foundations at. It's much faster than the portal method, though it requires a bit of eyeballing to do. You'll then take the foundations around the chests at this point. Then for our final pass on the chest symmetry, we'll come to see where the gaps are. You'll then remove the ghost foundations, leaving the foundations on the corners so you can place them back when you're done adjusting things. You'll probably have to delete the chests to replace them, but this should only take a few moments instead of being a painful process like it can potentially be. Once you're done your final pass of alignment here, you can then refill the missing foundations and have your floor set up almost finished within a much shorter time than my previous approach, and have an easier time making sure your floor will look good. Then all we need to do is finish off the room by making a small partition. This could either go in your base, or you can make a small build specifically for the purpose of mass refining. Quickly slap in a few Tudor walls and bam! Mass storage right at your feet. You can use this for refining or crafting, but really it's better suited for refining purposes overall, I think. So there we go, 3 storage designs for crafting from storage. This again is all theoretical, a bit of a mad science experiment on my part, as these designs might not even work out. But based on everything we know about crafting from storage, we're well within the 12-meter reach for storage. The only question will be is if it acts like augments where it cannot reach through a wall or not. But I still think we've got that solved in the hybrid build. So maybe stay tuned on this one. We might have to revise things in the future, but in my video on 0.2, I'll be heading back to these designs to use them for crafting. So I guess we'll find out ultimately if they work then. But Trust me on this, folks, I'm 99% sure that all of these designs will be flawless. Either way, till then, thank you for watching. Hopefully this will get you ready for the update, or at least give you ideas for when the update drops. But for now, I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.